This is Zanaya.
It's the righteous vigilante Jamar Creek, and you're tuning in to Minds Wide Open.
Hey, yo, check it out. This is Namestream, never mainstream. You're tuning in to Minds Wide Open Media.
Shout out to the Florida Vibe Directory. You're now listening to the best playlist in South Florida.
Yes, sir. You already know what time it is, man. It's your boy, Gabe Avelli, and we back with another episode of the Florida Vibe Directory. This is actually something new that we're trying. You know, we're bringing on, like, you know, not just artists, not just designers, not just influencers, but, you know, we're also bringing in, you know, comedians, man. But who I got with me in the building today?
I'm Dany Fallon. That's my name. I thought it was you for a second. I was like, I am Dany Fallon.
There you go.
Sometimes you forget who you are. You know what I mean?
Nah, I feel you, man.
Forget you're in a building and, yeah.
Sometimes I forget I'm a human.
Yep, exactly.
Sometimes, man. But, so for the people that don't know you, man, let the people know what you do.
So I'm a comedian, and home base right now is Florida, South Florida. I was just telling him I live in Boynton Beach. I got a show in Miami tonight, so I go up, you know, all around this state. But I'm actually moving to New York, so I'll be a New York-based comedian starting in January.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did you originally get into comedy?
Well, as we were talking a little bit before this, you know, I was, you know, I used to be a musician. I mean, I guess I still am. You know, once you are, you are.
Yeah,
you know
it never leaves you.
Like, you know I still know how to play instruments and everything. But I was really focused on music when I was younger. And that lifestyle, to me, at least in my head, was really tied up with doing drugs.
Right.
And I wanted to be a rock star. And I thought, like, oh, I'm going to do drugs. And that's going to expand my consciousness.
Your
and that's,
creativity and everything.
Yeah, that's what all the greats did. Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain. So then eventually I had to get sober because I was too fucked up. And in sobriety and like in the recovery community, I would share my story. I would speak with people at like meetings and stuff, and then people would be like, "Hey, you're really funny. You know, maybe you should try stand up." And then I would tell people stories like off, you know, just out and about with people that I was meeting, and they would be like, "You know, you have really good stories and stuff. You should try stand up." So after enough encouragement, and I'm still an artist. Like I wanted to create. I just didn't know if it was going to be the music thing. It just kind of like the universe just pointed me in that direction. And once I tried it, the first time I tried it, I was like, all right, I'm hooked. You know what I mean?
Like first time on stage?
Yeah. First time I did it, it was just like heroin. I was like, oh, I got to do this for the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah, so you went like the traditional route of like improv classes, and then like through the improv class got like your first opportunity to get on stage?
No, I actually did try improv. But I didn't really know. Like, I tried improv maybe in, like, 2015. I didn't know what to do. I knew, like, I wanted to do something. I wasn't really doing music anymore. I was down here in Florida as a whole new, because I'm from Indiana. And so I was trying to do something, like, artistically. You know what I mean? Like, I got sober, and I was like, I got into gambling. And then I was like, all right, I have a gambling problem, too. You know? And I was like, all right, I don't really know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Other than, like, I'm staying sober. I'm having friends. And, like, so me and my buddy went to an improv class. And I remember the guy actually said, he's like, are you guys comedians? Like, are you stand-ups? And we were like, no, but, you know, I tried it one more time. And then I was like, I don't want to be an improv guy. I don't want to do improv. So I didn't do it. And that was in like 2015 or 16. And I didn't do stand-up until 2019.
Oh, wow.
And I just went to an open mic. I met another friend in recovery, and he told me he was going. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to give you my word that I'm going. Because I knew if I gave him my word as a man, I had to go.
For sure.
And up until that point, I kept, like, thinking about it, but never doing it, you know? And then so I gave him my word, and I went. And then from there, you kind of find out the whole scene, you know what I mean? Like, the guy pulled me aside, the open mic host. He's like, we got another one tomorrow. And I was like, all right.
Oh, because, like, you, like, crushed it. So
Yeah.
he was, like, trying to, like, fuck with you more type shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, something that, you know, before we get into, like, what you're currently doing is... I know that like before the drugs, what was your early life like growing up in Indiana? What was it like?
So we moved, my family, we moved from West Chicago to Indiana when I was like 6. And, you know, I would say early life, like I always felt like the black sheep of the family, you know?
Same.
Yeah, I was interested in like, because my dad and like I felt like the regular family, the whole like life that was kind of laid out was like, all right, play sports, do good in school, very religious upbringing.
Okay.
A lot of church stuff. And I took the church stuff really seriously. You know, like I would read the Bible myself, and I was like really engaged in all that. And but I always wanted to like skateboard and like, you know, Paintball. I got into paintball. I was just into all these things that I didn't feel like my parents were. It wasn't the acceptable thing. You know
I see
what I
what
mean?
you're saying. Like you didn't have like traditional interests.
Right, and so that was always kind of like an uphill battle. I trying to summarize because I have a good memory. You know what I mean? It was definitely like, well, here's a fun part of my early childhood. I was like 10 or 11. I started having a sex drive.
Wow.
Obviously, and I remember I told my mom, I was like, "Hey, mom, I've been having a lot of erections."
Damn, you told her?
Yeah. And she's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because I'm thinking about girls." And she's like, "You can't do that. That's lust. If you do that, you're gonna go to hell." So then I tried to not have erections for like the next 7 years.
So how did you?
So that really fucked me up with women up into this day, I think.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Damn.
So just to give you an idea of like how religious it was, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, like in like church growing up, you were like the person that was like always reading and like because I feel like it's like when a lot of people that I know that like do like entertainment stuff, when they grow up religious, they have a lot of like they grew up like reading in front of the people and talking and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like I've given a sermon at church before.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would sometimes like play guitar at the church, stuff like that. So yeah, I was involved, but I kind of have always had this like dichotomy between like being shy and being extroverted.
I kind of feel what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I definitely understand.
Because I have like a lot of anxiety, and I mean, we didn't really remember like earlier in life. Like now, everyone has anxiety,
Right.
but back then we didn't know it was called anxiety. You know what I mean?
It was just like like I just feel weird sometimes.
I just feel like a bitch. I feel like everyone else is not scared, and I'm the only one who's scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm scared of everything and everyone all the time.
No, I definitely feel you though. That shit is wild, man.
Yeah.
That shit is definitely wild. So, how long were you doing music before like everything happened and you got into comedy? Like,
Well, I started playing probably guitar. Like, I started playing bass when I was like 10, and I had to buy a bass. I remember like my dad made me like save money myself. I was like shoveling snow or mowing grass, and I bought a bass. And my cousin gave me like an acoustic guitar amp, and I would play on that connected. I bought the bass off eBay.
Oh,
I remember
wow.
that, yeah. And then I started playing guitar when I was 11. And so then I might have taken like a little bit of a break when I first got to high school. Like 15, I wasn't as focused.
Right.
And then like around junior year, I really got back into music hardcore. And then so probably the next 6 years, I was pretty hardcore with it.
Right.
Like always jamming, always being in bands. And then like when I was like around 18, that's when the drugs started.
To kind of derail you and shit.
Yeah, so that just kept getting worse and worse. Even though I was still playing music the whole time, but then by the end, like it was like I was not really playing music at all.
You're just fucked up.
Like 2014, I was like no longer playing music really at all.
Damn.
Yeah, that whole year.
Now I wanted to ask you this, like just going back to like your comedy, like with things being how they are now, like how hard is it to like have material that's relatable, but then not crossing certain lines where like people don't fuck with you.
Right. I mean, I think that's like a lot of people talk about that and like this whole like PC thing, right?
Right.
But I think in a lot of ways sometimes it's made it funnier because sometimes it's like you're not supposed to talk about this. So then if you do, it's even funnier.
Right.
And most people still want to hear it. That's what you find out. Like, it's so different live. Like, you get in trouble online. Everyone's got an opinion online. But when you're in just a situation, it's just you and a crowd, like, and you're actually doing stand-up comedy, like, you realize, like, oh, people still want to laugh about the same shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, I think in some ways, if you're tactful about it, it almost can make it funnier. Because especially if you let the crowd know, hey, I know we're not supposed to be talking about this.
Right.
But I'm gonna.
But we're gonna do
You know what I mean? And then, like, because it's still the same stuff. I mean, stand up, like race, sexuality, like all these, like, taboo things. It's still in there. You go to any live comedy show, it's all going to be there.
It's still funny.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's still funny.
For sure.
It's like, people still talk about like trans people. They just call them trans people now. They don't say tranny. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like but people still make jokes about it. They're just more tactful. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Like more tasteful, you would say, with the joke.
Hopefully, and then also too, there's people who just don't give a fuck.
Right.
So they're just saying whatever. Because like if you go to open mic comedy, I mean anything goes.
Yeah.
There's people that are just like I gotta say it. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, are you like a fan of like raunchy comedy, or like like they would say like the foul shit?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, for me, it's like life, if you are paying attention, is filled with, like, life is not PC. Life is not clean. Life is a dirty, gritty, story. And so, like, my art reflects that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I don't know. I don't really care. Like, if you're good, if you're clean, and you're, like, it's very all whatever, and it's funny, I don't need it to be raunchy, but I just feel like a lot of times it is.
It's
better.
better. It's kind. Yeah. I know what you mean. Now, who are some of your comedic influences?
Louis C.K.
Okay.
is he ended up being. I wasn't into Louis C.K. until I got into stand up, and then once I started watching more and more stand up, I was like, oh, this guy's like the GOAT. He really is. But like the first person that I ever remember watching was or like that I know I was watching was Kevin Hart.
Okay.
Yeah, Kevin Hart was a big influence, and then John Mulaney, and then Bill Burr.
Okay.
A lot of the mainstream, but some of the lesser known ones like Mark Normand, Joe List. Let's see, I love Norm Macdonald. He just passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So Greg Giraldo as well.
You're talking Luke's language right now, because like, I honestly I fuck with like mainstream comedy. Like,
Yeah.
I never really started to like dip and dabble, but like me and Luke, like once I started like chilling with Luke, like he's been putting me more on like different comedians. So I've been like, just dibbling and dabbling. So it's like some of the names you're mentioning now, I'm like, okay, now I remember like Luke showing me a video of this guy, and so
Yeah.
I definitely see that. Now, how do you feel that the direction of comedy is going, like at this moment, like with like social media being as big as it is and everything like that?
Well, I feel like there's like this weird thing, like something I think about a lot is like someone messaged me the other day and they were like, since when are like, I feel like the comedians are so much better than they used to be at working the crowd. Mm-hmm. And he's like, why do you think that is? And then I was like, at first I was just like, fuck you in my head, because it's like, sometimes talking about comedy with people who don't do stand-up comedy, it's just like, I don't know, man, just watch the show, just enjoy it. Why do you gotta know how it works?
Be a fan. Just be a fan.
Just be a fan, But that's my initial reaction. And then I was actually meditating, and I was like, I meditated for like 5 minutes, and I was like, you know what? And then all it came to me what to say, and I was like, well, for one, I think it's like comedians are posting a lot of content because everyone's posting content.
For sure.
The whole thing, like this whole like, we're just all like a slave, I feel like, to like the demands of like big tech and like these apps, you know what I mean? Like, because you're like, well, I don't want to do it, but then you're gonna not have the same opportunities. You kind of have to do it because like someone else is gonna be posting reels and you're not.
And then they're getting that view or whatever.
Right.
And now they're like paying with it too, so it's like it gives you that extra incentive, even though it's like what they're paying you is nothing to these companies, but it still gives you that like incentive to do it as well.
Right. And so a lot of comedians are posting crowd work, which is when they're like talking to the crowd and maybe it's a heckler, maybe it's just someone that they're roasting. Mm-hmm. They're posting that because they don't want to burn their main material.
Right.
Like they don't want to burn their jokes. They want people to come see them. So then I think, unfortunately, a lot of people start seeing this because people are just more on their phones. So now I feel like more people are paying attention to stand-up comedy because more of it's online.
Right.
But then they see mostly this crowd work. So then they kind of like go to a show thinking like, oh, that's what's going to happen. Mm. And it's like for a lot of comedians, that's not what we want to happen at all.
Right.
Crowd work is something that it's like a survival skill. To me, I'm not a crowd work comedian. I don't want to do crowd work. I will. I have. It's always something I'm going to deal with.
Right.
Because people are unruly and like they don't get it. You know what I mean? So they're going to say something and I have to be quick and
Right.
But it's just like I think that sometimes like people don't have all the education on what it is. So it's like also another thing that annoys me about it is like I would rather have the way I want to consume content, like the way I would want to consume comedy is like I want to sit down and watch your special.
Right.
Watch your whole hour or half hour and like or like a 20-minute set and like really see like what you did, the flow, all your jokes. But now because everything is like a minute or 30 seconds, it's like I feel like I got to do it again because I want the views and I want to get followers and I want people to come see me if I'm going to go perform in Iowa.
For sure.
You know, I don't know anyone in Iowa, so I have to be on social media to build a fan base.
For a fact.
You know, and that way a theater will pay me to go there or a club. But at the same time, it's like making me have to post these like minute reels, and it's like that's not how I want to consume content.
Right.
But at the same time,
You got to play the game.
play the game, so it's weird, you know.
Right. Now I know that you mentioned about burning your material. So actually, no. Before we get into that, like, how do you personally deal with hecklers? And the thing too is like, you know, for people who don't know, you know, what a heckler is, we could explain to that because I know that like
That's true.
every different comedian they have kind of degrees to like, you know, even some people just being on their phone is like a heckle to a certain comedian.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you know, what would you consider like heckling?
Heckling would just be, well, I would say like, I agree with you. There's degrees, but no, like, okay, this is what a heckler is. A heckler is I'm doing my jokes, and then you yell out or you say something to me. You're like, hey, your shirt is weird, or hey, I didn't like that joke.
Right.
Anything, really, honestly, anything other than just laughing or being quiet is a heckle.
Right.
Because even people will think that they're like, there's like silence, and they'll be like, ooh, or they'll like make noise, or they'll try to encourage you, and it's like, please do not do that. Please do not encourage me, because if I create silence, I'm aware of that. I'm a comedian. I know what I'm doing. Like,
Right.
I might be creating silence to create tension, and then I'm going to say something.
Right.
But if you yell, now you've dissolved that. It's just like music, you know? Like, music isn't just sound, it's the absence of sound. You know what I mean?
I see what
so
you're
it's
saying.
like, sometimes people will like, and it's like annoying, you know? Like, they'll make sounds, like they'll talk to you about your jokes, like, while you're doing it. Like, I filmed a special recently, and like, this lady was like in the front, just like saying things during my jokes. You know what I mean? Like, just talking about it. Like, I'd be like, I have erectile dysfunction. And she's like, I have some drugs for you. And it's like, I have a joke about that. I'm gonna go there. You know what I mean? I don't need you to bring up the topics at all. Just you know
let me land the plane.
Yeah, exactly. So really, anything to be totally, yeah, like the total full scope of heckling is anything other than laughing or being quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with that? Like, constantly. Like, how did you deal with like just like her always having something to say?
With her specifically, so you have they're all, it's all situational, right? With her specifically, I'm filming something, right? Mm-hmm. And I already kind of knew her energy because I had spoken to her before the show. Also, I had met her doing another show and invited her to this show. And so I kind of knew her energy, and I was like, I know that there's no way I can really address what you're doing, because here's the thing. In that sense, it's more of like a benign heckle. Mm-hmm. They're not doing anything where it's like the rest of the crowd will be on my side. Like, if I say something to her and I'm like, hey, can you just stop? She doesn't know what she's doing.
Everybody's going to be like, you're tripping.
Yeah, they're going to be like, dude, you're an asshole. Why are you doing that?
I see what you're saying.
But if she was like, hey, you suck, then if I roast her, the crowd's like, we like this guy, so yeah, fuck her.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in that situation, I had to just stop engaging her and let her just pretend like it wasn't happening.
Kind of like her to get the message.
Yeah, because otherwise, now there's some people that they're so obnoxious that you have to address them. Mm-hmm. Or if like you're not filming something like important, you know what I mean? But in that situation, it's like, oh, you're just kind of like a little bit mentally off, mm-hmm. and there's nothing I could really say to you without it. You might start crying. Like, I was like, she would be the type of person that might start crying.
Yeah.
You know, freak out.
Has that ever happened to you where like you like roasted somebody or like said a joke and motherfucker just run out? Like,
I had a situation that was, yeah, pretty bad.
What happened?
I was doing a show in Fort Lauderdale, and everyone was going up, and this table was they were just being assholes, right? Mm-hmm. And it was mostly women, and they were just yelling things out and heckling and just interrupting the comedians and then talking amongst themselves and then going back to yelling at the comedians. They had something to say about everything. Mm-hmm. Again, they weren't being quiet.
Right.
They weren't just laughing. They were a part of the show, right? And they're drunk. And so I'm like, whatever. I go up for the open mic after the show. It just rolled right into the open mic. Okay. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything unless they say something. So I start doing my jokes. It's going well. Then they say something. And I was like, oh, man, this table over here, you guys must be the descendants of slave owners.
Damn.
Because based on your clear lack of empathy for human life and dreams or something like that. Like based on your disregard for human life and others' feelings or something like that. And so I got a laugh. And the lady was like, there we go. Now you're being funny. And I was just in like goblin mode. You know what I mean?
You just saw blood right
So I saw blood and I was like, oh, I'm glad it's funny to you. I was like, shut up, bitch, and get more Botox already. And the crowd erupted, right? Not proud of this moment either. I felt horrible afterwards.
Damn.
Yeah. But because it was just so ruthless. Like I've learned since then from doing comedy, it's like, I don't like doing that.
Right.
I don't want to be that shitty. Because that's still, to me, that's still another human being.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And to me, I would like to find a way where I can bring her into the show, or at least I can say something, not go that hard. That was a little too hard.
Damn, so the crowd went crazy.
The crowd loved it because they were being assholes, right?
Right.
But then, like, you know, whatever, I do the rest of my set, and it's like, it's okay, you know, but it's like it could never compare to that moment again.
Right.
You know, I'm doing material, and they're like, yeah, but you're not telling this lady she needs Botox, and she looks like a lizard, so.
Damn, so you were just going in on her.
I went in on her for a second. It just went crazy. Then later, she tries to get on stage in the same set, and I was trying to like backpedal a little. I was like, damn, you're actually pretty attractive, you know, this close. I didn't realize, you know, and I was trying to like flirt with her a little bit and like smooth it over that way. She gets on stage, she's wasted. And this is another mistake. This was a couple years ago, and I'm still learning a lot. I'm still pretty new, but I've learned a lot since then.
Right.
And I kind of let her tell a joke. She's like, "Oh, I'll tell a joke." And in my head, I'm like, "Okay, it's going to be awful, and that's going to prove my point even more." So I'm like holding the mic. She's trying to like kind of hold it out of my hands. Now I got to be careful because like she also is drunk. She can't slip and fall. She falls off the stage. Like there's so many things going through my head. I'm still trying to give a performance. This needs to go bad. Like it's too much. You know what I mean?
Right, it's a lot of factors.
She's drunk. She's again only thinking about herself. She's trying to get the mic out of my hand. She's telling a horrible story. So she tells her thing. It bombs. And I'm like, there you go. Like again, I roast her more. And I'm like, now get off the stage. Now I get off, and it's like people are like, hell yeah, bro, that was awesome, everything like that. But I'm like, you know, again, growing up super Christian, you know, Christian guilt. I feel bad.
Damn.
You know, and I'm like, fuck, man, I feel really bad. And this is a mistake. See, you got to just leave it on stage. Like, what happens when you're on stage? I've learned this. It's like, that's a performance. That's a character. That's not, hey, you did something stupid. You're at a comedy show. Like,
right.
that version of me has to do that for his own survival, you know?
No, for sure. I mean, shit.
But I tried to talk to her off stage about it.
Wow.
And made it real. And you don't do that. And I learned that from an older comic that night. I told him about this after it happened. He was like, don't do that ever again. But so I went outside. I saw her getting into her car. Drunk,
Damn.
by the way, in the driver's seat with with another woman who ended up being her mom. So I go up to the car and knock on the window.
Oh,
and she's
shit.
like crying and shit.
Oh, because of...
Yeah.
Damn.
And so she rolls down the window and I'm like, hey, I just wanted to say that, you know, I'm sorry I took it that far or whatever. And she's like starts reaming me, right? Mm-hmm. And then she's like, you are never going to go anywhere with hate in your heart. That's why you weren't doing good. And my ego kicks in. I'm like, I mean, I was doing good. The crowd loved me roasting you. Like, don't get it twisted. I didn't fail. Mm-hmm. I just feel like an asshole, but I didn't not do comedy.
Right.
Comedy occurred at your expense, for sure. Don't get it twisted.
Like,
I'm apologizing for being an asshole. I'm not apologizing for being a bad comedian.
Because I was funny.
Yeah. But so she starts reaming me, and then she takes it too far. She's like, and so I say something, and she's like, no. You don't get to say anything if you're apologizing. And I'm like, and then she's just drunk, babbling on. And her mom's saying things to me, too.
Damn.
And now I feel like shit even more. And then they just drive off drunk. They probably killed a family or something, you know.
Ran over a homeless,
Yeah.
Ran over a homeless dude.
Yeah, I tell the older comedian about it, and he's like, yeah, don't do that ever again.
That's wild as fuck.
Yeah.
So that was like the absolute worst situation, huh?
That was one of them. Yeah, that was a pretty bad one for sure.
Now, through doing comedy, what's one thing that you learned about yourself?
Well, I've learned a lot about myself for sure. I try to put it something like tangible. I definitely like realized even more so to myself. Like it helped me kind of embrace even more like how tough I am, because it's a tough game. It's a tough grind, and you know It showed me that I'm capable of doing it. Like it showed me again even more so that lesson of like it doesn't matter what you're feeling, you can do it anyhow. Because I'll still get nervous. I'm nervous about the show tonight.
Right.
But I'll still go up there and do it. And it's like it's so weird because it's like I might have this idea like, oh, this isn't gonna go good, or I'm nervous, and then I go up there and it's like a whole different version of myself comes, takes over, and then I'm like, oh, it went great, and it's just like really taught me to kind of stay present and just enjoy the ride because it's unexpected. A show that you think is going to go amazing might go bad. A show that you think is going to be an absolute shit show might be amazing. So it's like I just try to stay present and just enjoy all of it. So it's really like kind of spiritual to me, really, the whole thing. And it's just I'm learning a lot as I go, Learned a lot about like interpersonal relationships and like realizing like the degrees of like, oh, just because I think I'm friendly with this person doesn't mean we're really it's that deep, It might just be more of a superficial thing. I've realized like even more about reading people and navigating the world and establishing the right, like prioritizing relationships the right way,
Something very difficult.
Yeah.
Especially in any form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult. Now, has there ever been a situation where like comedy's affected your personal life? Like you were like funny at like the wrong time, or like maybe said a joke about something that was too close to home and got you caught up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you get, for 100%. 100%, like, I trying to think of like a good example. But I mean, I think that if you really are a comedian, it completely changes your personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it makes you're just going to say all the, like, that's a thing I think when you first get into it, you're like, oh, I'm trying to be funny all the time.
Right.
But then after you do it for longer, you're like, all right, I get that on stage. I don't need to do this in every conversation. I almost don't want to sometimes,
Right.
But, yeah, like I was doing like a speech for recovery kind of thing. And I, for no reason, I was just like, it was weird to be like speaking publicly and not trying to be funny.
Right.
And so I ended up making a joke about like sucking dick, and it wasn't even necessary. It was totally like a non sequitur from what I was saying. And people laughed for sure, but a lot of people got offended too.
Yeah.
And
because it's something very serious.
Right. Well, not even as much. It's just like you can be kind of silly in those settings, but just the way that I was doing it was just very, like, clearly like I made it about me. You know what I mean? And I regret that for sure. I try to not do that.
No, definitely. Now, as a comedian, how important is it for you to like not always go for like that like cheap laugh, like, or like, like, I guess, the cheap laugh, like.
Yeah, I mean that's really important we call it being a hack.
Mm-hmm.
And I try my best to try to like be original and try to think of it in a more unique way. But sometimes it's just right there. Like, especially in those crowd work moments, sometimes you just, damn, that's right there, man. I got to say it.
I got to go for this guy.
Or like just the thing that's like the layup, and you're like, that's right there. And my mind didn't think of anything better.
Right.
But I think when I'm writing material, I always try to make it better than just what's right there. What's common, the obvious. Because to me, comedy is all about surprise. It's how do I surprise you? So if I say what's obvious to you, it's not going to be as surprising. It's not going to hit as hard,
Right. It's like a lyric or something like that. Like if you expect it, it's not.
Yeah. It's not as profound.
Right. So now what are some things that you do to get into the zone before you go on stage?
Well, I like to work out just in general. Like, I think that's great for your mental health and just, how you look, how you feel, all that. So, I like to work out. I don't have to work out every day, but like sometimes like if it's like a show like that, I'm like, I'd like to get a good pump in that day, but it's not necessary. Meditation for sure. And then really just like ideally, some time beforehand to just kind of listen to music and vibe, rehearse. Sometimes I'll rehearse. It just depends on the day or like what kind of, setting. Sometimes I don't want to think about it. Sometimes it's better if I just talk to someone and I'm just talking about whatever. Maybe talk about what's going on in their life. So that way when I get there, I'm just like, I'm here. And like I don't don't have too much time by myself to just
Think
overthink
about it all day
Yeah.
and shit. I already know.
Yeah.
Damn. So, for the people that don't know you and they're watching this interview, what's like a specific piece of content that you would want them to see to really like get to know you and know exactly what you're about?
Well, I am going to be putting a special on YouTube. We're not finished editing it right now. We have a few more things. I'm waiting on my guy, the 1424 Media.
Mm-hmm.
He is the one that's editing it all. And once that's done editing, I'll be putting that on YouTube. It's going to be a full special, 52 minutes.
Oh shit! Okay.
And the title is My Ex-Drug Dealer.
Oh wow.
And that would be for sure what I would want people to watch. In the meantime, you can obviously check out my YouTube, Dany Fallon. I have stuff on there that, is good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I feel like what I'm about to put out is the best
Of course.
of it, but that stuff's good. My Instagram, of course, has,
Great
reels, crowd work, regular material, because I'm not really, I'll put out my material,
Mm-hmm.
And then TikTok, if you're on there. I'm with all the children on TikTok.
You're out there.
Yeah, because I have to be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm surrounded by 16-year-olds trying to talk about heroin addiction and erectile dysfunction while they're doing dances. It's, embarrassing, but that's showbiz,
Hey, you gotta do it.
So, all the platforms. Facebook. I'm even on Facebook,
Yep.
which, God bless Facebook, huh?
It's the one plant that I really don't water.
Yeah, I respect that. Yeah, that means you're smart. And,
What?
yeah,
Like, I don't go on there.
that's wise. That's wisdom to know that.
Unless I'm trying to buy, like, some speakers or some shit on
Yeah,
Marketplace.
yeah.
For sure, but, like,
Yeah.
as my social media, like, nah, bro. Like, if Instagram didn't have the shit connected, like, automatically, like, people on Facebook would never know me from after 2012.
Yeah, respect.
They
Respect.
would have, like, this guy's a Mayan. Like,
Yeah.
he never surfaced.
Yeah, no. Facebook is an absolute, it's a wasteland.
Yeah, it's a shit show.
I see shit sometimes, like, I'm just like, why did you write all of this? You wrote so much. Like, it's good that Twitter limits the characters.
For a fact.
No one should be writing essays. Write a book and publish it. Like, it used to be that you had to, like, someone had to, like, other people had to be like, all right, this writing should be seen by other people. Now we don't have that. There's no barricade between just what you're fucking thinking and the rest of society, and that's dangerous.
The bar is so low.
It's so low. It's scary, dude. Like, dude, this dude literally ran a 6-minute mile. I'm not kidding you, not bullshitting you. It looked like 3 to 6 pages he wrote.
That's crazy.
About, and I get it, dude. I get it. You're fired up. You ran a 6-minute mile, but it's like the spiritual journey behind a 6-minute. Like, bro, you can just have an experience in life and just keep it to yourself.
Or just vlog it.
Yeah.
At least give me some background music.
Buy a camera. Like, that's the problem with social media. Is like everyone wants to be a star now. It's too much. It's way too much. Not all of us should be.
I felt that, bro. There definitely needs to be more fans, bro.
Yeah, more fans, dude. I'm only going to follow you if you follow me back. No, you should be following me. And I shouldn't be following you because you've posted a picture of bread in 2015. And the last update was a girl that's dead now. That's your girlfriend.
Damn.
In 2017. And then, what? And then the 6-minute mile? This is... Why am I following you?
Bro, that's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Oh, man. I seen one of your videos on TikTok that I really liked when you were talking about the current state of porn.
Ah.
So, I didn't even know that the porn world and, comedy world, I guess they cross over a lot, huh?
Well, I mean, most people watch porn.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it's an easy topic to talk about. You know what I mean?
For a fact.
I mean, I'm gonna talk about porn for sure. I'm not watching it right now. I haven't watched it in like a month and a half, maybe 2 months.
Damn.
Yeah,
Kept it clean, huh?
kept it clean. Just imagination right now.
Just imagination.
Yeah.
Yo, honestly, people don't understand, though, how much power it takes to go just straight imagination.
Yeah,
Like, it's a muscle that people need to flex more, bro, because as society, we have it too easy.
yeah.
Or, like, you could, like, search, like, 5'7", brown hair, like,
I
you
know.
can be as specific as you want on the internet.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
It's
It's startling.
It's too much. It's too much. Also, one thing before we get up out of here that I'm actually curious about is, do you like go like involve politics into your comedy, or like You know, how has that been with like the recent climate of things? I know it's probably like something that's inevitable probably to even talk about, right?
Well, I mean, I just try to be, my whole comedy is like, I try to just, it's me. I don't really, I'm not a character. It's Dany Fallon. So it's like, you meet me right now, this is the same as who I am on stage.
Right.
To the most. Like, of course, you know, there's a little bit of a ramp up.
Of course.
But for the most part, it's so the way I feel about politics as a person is what I talk about on stage, if I do. And mostly it's just like, I mean, personally, sometimes I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get what's fucking going on. You know, I think I'm a decently intelligent guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's hard to make sense of it. We have gotten so crazy. It has gotten so crazy. You know, like, I was thinking about that on the way here. Like 10 years ago, it used to be like you smoke weed, you make fun of Fox News.
Right.
And that made sense, you know? And then maybe you talk about aliens building the pyramids, right?
Right.
And now it's like it's so weird because now all the conservatives are conspiracy theorists.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like now everyone has conspiracies on both sides. And everyone smokes weed. And
right.
It's like, I can't make sense of it sometimes, you know? Like some people they don't understand. They're like, I don't understand how anyone could vote for Trump. And I'm like, you don't?
Like, yeah.
It's like, I didn't, but I don't not get it.
Right.
I don't understand. It's like, I understand how someone can get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, that's what I try to talk about more. If I'm talking about politics, it's just like the state of just like where the fuck we were at, where it's like.
How extreme people have gotten. And
because no one trusts anything anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's hard to, but it's like, you just like, it's hard to like have faith even in the system itself.
Right.
And think it's like real. But then you also, in my head, I'm like, I don't want to be one of those dummies who's like, who doesn't, because then someone else is like, you're an idiot if you don't think it's real. Our votes count. And you're like, I don't know. Who's right?
Right.
Does it? I don't know. How does someone have that conviction of like, I'm right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. I'm right. It does matter. Like, those people blow me away, that they have that much conviction that they know for sure.
When it's like, how could you really know when they have so much things and electoral college and all this crazy shit? Like, it's wild. It is wild, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely clear that some shit we don't know about. Mm-hmm. You know, like everything with the Epstein thing that happened, you're like, all right, I mean, some shit is clearly going on, right? There was a lot of politicians that fucked kids.
Yo,
that happened.
Facts.
You know?
Facts. Even with the whole, like, crypto millionaires just randomly dying in Puerto Rico, like, I feel like every 2 days it's, like, a new one where it's like, dude made $1 billion on crypto, I don't know, we're dead. Like, shit is wild, bro. But, bro, this has been a great conversation.
Of course.
I appreciate you coming through, coming to vibe with the Florida Vibe Directory. I wish you best of luck in New York, bro.
Thank you, man.
Definitely let us know when the special comes out. We'll definitely be posting that.
For sure,
sharing that, all of that. I really do appreciate you, you know what I'm saying, being the first comedian that I interviewed as well, so that was real dope.
Hell yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is, man. It's your boy, Gabe Avelli. This has been the Florida Vibe Directory. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead like. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead subscribe. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead and turn the video up. Let the people know where they can find you before we get up out of here, Danny. You can find me on Instagram, Dany Fallon, haha, H-A-H-A. And that's the same on TikTok. Facebook, I am on there, Dany Fallon. Add my personal or my business, either way. I don't know how that works exactly, but it works. And then YouTube, Dany Fallon, same thing. Yes, sir. That's it. My ex-drug dealer, coming out soon. Yep. Let's go. Thanks for having me, man. Yes, sir. Yep. Shout out to Luke on the board.
This is Zanaya.
It's the righteous vigilante Jamar Creek, and you're tuning in to Minds Wide Open.
Hey, yo, check it out. This is Namestream, never mainstream. You're tuning in to Minds Wide Open Media.
Shout out to the Florida Vibe Directory. You're now listening to the best playlist in South Florida.